Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, I've just started going live, and I just realised I'd done it wrong. So do forgive me while I just try and get things right on the Moment. Hello. Oh, come on. What's happened? Oh, bollocks. Shit. Try again. Shit. I'm swearing. I thought I'd turn the mic. So anyway, I do apologize for that. I had an important telephone call coming in, and for some reason, I pressed the wrong button. So, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, it went. They'll phone back if it's that important. Anyway, back to my story. So, I had a great grandparent that had a connection with me and with John and Alan and the other one, of course. And he called it John and Alan. So anyway, so I had that connection. So I put it in. I put the connection in and looked at what the software told me, you know. Oh, this one's a third cousin once removed. This one's a second cousin once removed, which fitted my tree. So anyway, I did that for quite a lot of matches that I had. And I ended up with about 10 people in the tree who were all DNA connections. And anyway, I went onto the software and did a search, and it come back with a person who connected with me on my tree, not a DNA connection. It was just a connection with me on my tree with a name I recognized. So I know, right, I'm going to send them a message. This was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I sent them a message saying, you know, it looks like we're related, and, you know, I can see that you've got a quite extensive tree. Just hope that you're into sharing your knowledge with, you know, sharing your tree, basically. And wasn't long after, it was basically an hour, maybe an hour and a half later, I got a message back saying, "Hi, yes, I'm interested. I can see that we match in this tree, and I can see that we match in the DNA." So, oh, wow, get in. Now, this person who I was speaking to, it was her. She was the manager of a tree, and she was the manager of a father's tree, and it was a father who was my third cousin. So there we go. So added her information into my tree, and again, you know, it didn't really match, but at least I got somebody else in, and I was talking to somebody, and that was the key, speaking to somebody. And so we chatted. When I say chat, you know, it was messaging through MyHeritage, which is not the best. I can honestly say messaging through MyHeritage is not the best way to contact people or be in touch with people or interact with people. You know, it's better. Email is better. That makes sense. Anyway, we went through, and she started coming up. Oh, this is your second great grandfather. This is your third great grandfather. You know, because her tree was showing it different to what my tree was showing it. So, of course, she's coming up with all these answers, and I'm all ears, as you do, and started adding it, into my tree. And of course, because I knew, because we matched, and we matched in her tree, I knew where my connections were. So I'd found second great grandparents for 2 of my ancestors. But my tree was all over the place. I couldn't get other things to match. I couldn't get the, John and Alan, who I knew I matched with. I couldn't get them to match with this new person. And yeah, I just went off. I don't know. I must have been off on a tangent. I don't know what it was. But I don't think I was quite getting the gist of how it worked, because I've been doing it so long, and I thought, as you do, you get to an age where you think you know bloody everything, and then you realise you know nothing. But this person who I'd connected with not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to call her Joan, because then you'll know who I'm talking about rather than that one I connected with. So anyway, I was connected to Joan, and we were sending messages backwards and forwards, and she'd say, "Oh, we've got a Mrs. Robinson in our tree," and I'd look at mine, and I'd see I'd got a Mrs. Robinson, but they didn't match to her tree. However, it was in my tree. And I just couldn't get it in my head how it could be in my tree and not matching. I just could not get it in my head until Joan said, well, the match might not be the great-grandmother or the great-great-grandmother. It might be the great-great-grandfather. And one of those might have married in to the tree that Joan was in. And then it was like a little light bulb, bump. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I've just got this father in my head all the time, So when I saw a connection, it was always father, mother, and that was connection, the father, which was wrong way to do it, quite honestly. But Joan put me right. And what I did was I knew that one line on my tree was correct because it was Joan's tree, her line. So I knew they were not connect. I knew they were correct. So I went on to the other line and I swapped around I don't know how to put it. I swapped around the grandfathers and grandmothers. So I found a grandmother. I don't know how to explain it, but I swapped them around anyway. So because Joan's tree or lineage was my lineage up to my second great-grandparents, I could come down there until I couldn't match and then look at the one who would be the match on the other line, if you see what I mean. And I saw saw a name, and he was a male. So I looked at his wife and I looked at my other line for the corresponding person. And lo and behold, she was there. So I connected the person who was in Joan's line, grandmother or great-grandmother, I can't remember which it was, but it was one of them. I connected that one with the one in my tree, my line that I already had. And as soon as I connected it, whoosh, the tree just blew. It just went boom, boom, whatever, boom. And it just filled out. Everything matched. All the ones I had as DNA matches all matched in the correct place. They all had the correct matches. So from there, it was an easy match to come down from Joan's tree, and it was an easy match to come down to the grandfather. So on my tree, I knew my grandfather's name, and I knew my grandmother's name, and I knew where they were from and the date of birth. I knew all those, and I think I can't remember exactly how it was, but I think they had 5 or 6 siblings, 7 siblings. I'm not quite sure how many it was. So one of those siblings, no, not siblings, one of those children, that's the word I was looking for. One of those children would be my line. So I need to find a connection that's close to me that would connect with my grandfather or grandmother, whichever. Now, the only close connection I had was, like I said earlier, was this first cousin in Denmark who I couldn't get in touch with, and I tried getting in touch with the parents. Nothing worked. So I sent this, I sent a message to Joan, who was the third cousin. I sent her a message saying, I do have a big match on who I think might be the key to my heritage. And I put the names, told her the names, and said, she's got a tree. However, she's only got 3 people in it. But I have been digging and being nosy and whatever you want to call it, going around the internet, making assumptions and trying to get things. Oh, this is a friend, and a friend, it looks like it could be a relation, and those types. So I put all these things in, and it turned out that one of these names I'd put in, Joan had heard of. So she'd only heard, she hadn't spoken to, but she'd heard of her. So anyway, she sent me back and said, I think I'll try and connect with your big connection first, see if I can get anything back. And if not, then I'll go for the mother's connection from her and see if I get anything back. Anyway, she come back 10, 15 minutes later, said, I haven't got any reply from the big connection, and I haven't got a reply from her mother. But I'm going to contact somebody else who's I think it was a cousin of hers who was into genealogy in a big way and did a website on the family line. So she got in touch with him and gave him the story and said, what we're trying to do and how we're trying, the things we're trying to do. And anyway, he said, oh, I have this person you've tried to message. I've got her in the group. And when Joan looked at the group, she could see that the connection was there. She was there. So rather than message her through that website, she sat back and she waited for her cousin or whatever it was, whatever the relation was. She waited for him to contact her. So it didn't look like she was spamming or, whatever. Some people can get a bit upset if they start getting emails from people they don't really know. Anyway, it turned out that that I've lost the plot now. I do apologise. It turned out he sent Joan an email, a message or email or whatever they deal with over in Denmark. He got in touch with Joan and said, I've arranged for you to have a chat with Jean. So Joan and Jean had arranged a chat. And this was last Thursday. Last Thursday at 7 o'clock, she'd arranged a chat with, I've forgotten what name I said, but anyway, this chat was arranged. Now, on a Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, I normally have a WhatsApp group chat with my sister and my brother. So as you can imagine, I'm half on this chat with my sister and my brother, and I'm watching my computer to see if I'm getting any answers from Joan. Anyway, so I had an hour or so on my chat on my WhatsApp chat, said me goodbyes and whatever, come back to my computer, and a message with capital letters saying bingo, exclamation marks, loads of them. So, oh wow, we've got a result here. Anyway, 15 minutes later, I get another message saying, yeah, this person believes that knowing the family and, things like that, what they know about the family, I'm not going to make up a word that she said, but the word she said was culprit. So the culprit could be this person. But we'll find that she's going to ask a few close relatives and people like that to see if anybody knows anything. Anyway, came back on Friday afternoon, tea time-ish, and Joan started to message and said, yeah, apparently this person was a fisherman and used to land his fish in Grimsby, Hull area. Well, I'm in Bridlington, but same area, nearly. Anyway, and I knew that in the 50s that the Danish boats landed their herring at Bridlington because it was a fairly big port in the 50s for fish. So I knew that could be a really good clue. Then we managed to get the match with the big match that said I was a first cousin of this person who I matched with, and I could put her then into the tree because I knew who her mother was, and her mother was the one who Joan had been speaking to. So I put her in the tree, and of course I knew she matched in the correct place. Well, nearly the correct place. But she matched. She matched in a big way. So I knew that she was very, very close relation. So from there, and again, I'm on assumptions, and I don't know why I went on to this assumption, but I'm still on the assumption that what I had in my tree was exactly correct, which it was in a way, but not in the way I was thinking. So, in my mind, the way I thought was this person Joan was talking to must be a niece. think that's what. Anyway, yeah, I can't remember exactly what I thought, but I thought what it was, and of course, because I knew from Joan's tree who Jean's tree is, we could go up her tree and match her with Joan and me, and did. So that brought me down to, I knew that my grandfather was this person and my grandmother on my paternal side was this person. And I knew that one of those children of those two would be my father. And in there was 5. And of course, it was a man who I was looking for, and the 5 children, there was, I think, 3 male, 2 women. So I could rule out the 2 women. It was going to be one of the men. And it didn't quite work. And I can't understand why it wasn't working. And then what it was instead of looking, I can't remember exactly how I did it. Anyway, I'd assumed, like I said, I assumed that the child of those 2 grandparents, the male child of one of those 2 grandparents, would be my parent. What showed as grandparents on Joan's list, Joan's tree. My tree didn't quite match there because, anyway, I can't explain how it matched, but what it was Joan's 3rd great grandfather and Jean's 2nd great grandfather was the same. And so, of course, the next ones down was the grandfathers and grandmothers. And we knew where the matches were on those 2, and I knew that Jean's tree had matched in Joan's tree, and looked at that, and it worked out that I wasn't looking for a son of Jean's grandfather to be my father, because it didn't work. What did work was Jean's grandfather was my father, and that worked. And once I'd put that in and everything again, it just went boom. Everything matched, and wham bam, away we go. We've got a match. So on the 31st of January, which I declare my my Father's Day. Excuse me. I'd found my connection. I'd found my father, and he had, I can't remember now, I think he had 3, maybe, no, he had 5. He had 5 children across the pond there, across the water. And of course, one of those children was Jean's father, which made Jean a niece. So I had a niece who I was speaking to now. I had a third cousin who I was speaking to. And then, it turns out that Jean's, I think it turned out Jean's dad had passed. There was only one of the my father's siblings that was still alive, and of course he was a lot older than me, but he's still alive. So from there, I've like I say, I've cracked my tree. It's done. It's dusted. I'm not finished with it. I've got other things to do. I want to delve into the history of my ancestry, because now I've got a father, I've got a family line, I know the family line, and I want to find some history. I want to start looking at my Viking history. I want to see where my ancestors lived, and what they did. So the thing to remember about my journey is not to stop, to carry on regardless. Sorry, I've just seen the chat. I do apologise. Let me just have a look. I wondered why I wasn't hearing myself. Let me have a look. 1, 2. 1, 2. Why are we... Can you not hear the sound? I'll type this just in case. Oh, right, son, thank you. Yeah, I was watching the software as I'm pointing. I was watching the software that I'm streaming from. However, I didn't see the chat, which normally comes up on my screen, but it hasn't done today for some reason. And I don't know why it hasn't come up. Anyway, so Knotted, good afternoon, and Lewis, hi, son. So basically, I've spent nearly an hour explaining how I came to the conclusion that I found my father. That's what I've spent the hour doing. Now, hopefully, Do you know, I'm having a bloody nightmare. I don't know why, but I can see the green light now on my microphone. I can see that it's working. Anyway, I don't know if what you missed. Don't know what you've missed or how you've missed it or whatever. But I shall. Once I've finished and it gets uploaded to YouTube, I'll go back into it and see if the sound is recorded, because it's recording in mine. So, like I say, I think it might just be the end of the thing where I've knocked the microphone and turned it off. So, to carry on, you whatever you do not give up. Invest a little money, get a DNA test done, and if you can, go for 2 or 3 DNA tests and test any of your ancestors who are still alive. And you can't, stupid thing, you can't test ancestors who are dead, but you can test ancestors who are alive. And when I say ancestors, I mean, aunties, uncles, people like that, even children of aunties and uncles, because they'll have DNA from your line as well. So it's worth testing as many as you can. And I'm not advocating going out spending bucketfuls of money, which me, I don't want to do. If you've got it, use it. Do the tests. If you've got children of your own who are interested, they're interested in doing the tree, or they want to find a bit of their heritage as such, get them to do a test. Because, of course, their test will match you, but it will also match their father's side. So you can, if they're doing theirs or you're doing theirs for them, or however you manage to do it, is you're going to get those connections on the father's side, his or her father's side. So that's your children. So any aunties and uncles, get them tested. Any children who are willing of aunties and uncles, get them tested. It's all going to come in handy, and it'll all help. And like I say, right at the beginning, I've been doing this for 24, 25 years. Now, I haven't spent hours and hours and buckets of time on it, I think the biggest gap, I think I had nearly a 2-year gap where I didn't go on it at all. So, it sounds like a lot, but I haven't put a lot into it. I put a lot into it in the last 18 months because basically I've had the time. I've got nothing to do with my life now. I'm retired. I don't have to go out to work. And I'm a bit like, I'm a bit of a troglodyte. I stay at home and get on my, as you can see, get on my channel, or I do have other channels that I do, and get onto my tracing my family history through the family sites. Now, when I first did my DNA, you could actually upload it onto different sites, and there was quite a few sites you could upload to. However, over a period of time, those sites have stopped letting you upload your DNA. So, of course, my DNA is on my heritage, where I took the test, and ancestry.co.uk. I didn't take a test on there, but when I took my first test, I could add it to ancestry.co.uk. They'd let you upload your DNA. They don't do that now. You can't upload DNA. So you can't use their system on their DNA unless you've used their DNA test. But there is others out there. There's FT DNA, there's Genie, they do DNA. There's lots of sites where you can whack your DNA up to, and that's what you do. Put it, be like a bloody rash on the internet. Get it on as many places as you can, because then you'll start getting back connections. So anyway, don't give up. If you want help, ask for it. I'm here to help. If you're interested, just get in touch. Message me. I think if you go onto my channel, you'll see it. There's a WhatsApp number, I think. There's definitely an email address. Just get in touch, and we can hopefully we can get your tree sorted, get your lineage sorted. And of course, when I say that, my children's heritage, well, on one side of my children's heritage, they've got a huge, massive, ginormous tree with lots of people. I think we've got, and I can't remember exactly, but we've got coming up for 2,500 ancestors, and aunties and uncles, things like that, and their children's children, so there's quite a big tree. However, on their other line, they'll have nothing, only the ones that they know about, because when I do my tree, I don't actually do, so my first wife, I don't do her tree. I don't bother. She's not related to me by blood, so I don't bother. However, she's related by blood to my daughter. So if my daughter wanted to know, her line, well, then it's a different thing, isn't it? Then you've got to dig deeper on that one. Same as I've got my son has my DNA, of course. So he's I think about 30% Danish. So he's a bloody Viking. And just for something to think about, we've got the proven records. It can prove that my children's, I can prove that my children grandfather is Danish, which means if they wanted, they could go and get a Danish passport, because they can prove who the grandfather was. So get a dual passport. Cracked it then, haven't you? Well, you haven't cracked it, but you become a bit more European than me. Anyway, so that's how the tree things work. And I've got a couple of things in the chat, but nothing of any importance. But anyway, folks, I'm going to say I've enjoyed rabbiting for an hour, not knowing I'm knowing what I'm talking about, but I might not have made a lot of sense. But I can honestly tell you, I am over the moon. I'm elated, and I've spent the last 2 days cleaning up all these different trees I'd started all over the place to try and get these matches and whatever. And I think by this morning, I've deleted 8 different trees I'd made. So they've gone out of my life. I don't have to look at them anymore. I can concentrate on Ancestry's tree, and I can concentrate on my heritage tree. They're both basically the same, but on one tree, on my ancestry tree, my ancestry.co.uk tree, I have both. I have my paternal line and I have my maternal line. However, on my heritage tree, I only have my paternal line. I have one or two out my maternal, but I wanted to use my heritage as more of a paternal line, so it concentrates my mind a lot more onto it. Anyway, folks, I could talk for another hour, and I'm not going to, because it's 5 o'clock. People need to get fed and whatever. And so it's TTFN, live long and prosper, and hopefully you might put a like below, thumbs up, and if you're watching later, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Don't cost you anything, but it makes me feel really nice when people subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to click the bell, and away you go. And I'll see you on